Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we set up oil processing, complete with high-octane gasoline. We also expand the chemicals area by adding some more passive chemical processes. And finally, we add a few more vacuum freezers. I am starting today off with the realization that I actually need to make the LCR first. You saw in the intro that I set up the distillation towers. That's all fine. But I'm gonna get sulfuric light fuel, sulfuric heavy fuel, and so on out of this DT. And these need to be desulfurized in a chem reactor. And I don't want to make 4 chem reactors for this. I'd rather just make the one LCR and have it desulfurize everything. This is a nice little loop, by the way. You take sulfuric product, in this case heavy fuel, 2 buckets of hydrogen, and you get 1 bucket of hydrogen sulfide and the desulfurized product. The hydrogen sulfide though, you can electrolyze to get a sulfur out, and you get the 2 hydrogen buckets back, so it's a loop of the hydrogen. Essentially, I put in sulfuric, and I get heavy fuel, and I get a sulfur dust out. I would very much like to do all of those things with multi-blocks, so first things first, it's time for a little bit of cleanup of this area, I think. I think the first thing I'm going to do is get some polytetrafluoroethylene, probably patterned, so that I can then make it passively with the LCR. But it's a little bit of a looped dependency here because I want the LCR to do oil stuff, but I need oil stuff to make the LCR. Well, I don't need it, but it's kind of the best way for me to do it. Because tetrafluoroethylene, either directly or indirectly, needs methane. Making methane, there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but I think my preferred method is going to be distillation of cracked naphtha or heavy fuel or light fuel, because all of this makes methane. This is probably going to be how I get my methane. So I need an LCR to do oil stuff, but I need oil stuff to make an LCR. I probably just have to find some other way to make methane for now. I mean, to be honest, I could do this method. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's pretty bad, but I can survive. It's an LV recipe too, so if I overclock it to HV, it's okay. Especially if it's perfect overclocked once I have LCRs. This is fine, but this is better. For now, I will be doing it the bad way though, because I have to. LCR done. Now, in this current version of Star Technology, I can use any coils. I can use cupronickel coils, it'll be fine. But from my understanding, in the next version, the coil tier is actually going to matter. So I'm going to make nichrome coils. I'm also going to make a couple of these large chemical reactors. I need 1 over here for autocrafting. I need 1 over here for my desulfurization. And I need who knows how many over here to refactor this whole thing. To be honest, I don't really know if this needs refactoring because I have the polytetrafluoroethylene patterned and it's kind of fine. I don't know, but I could do some cleaner looping stuff, so maybe I will make it passive. Okay, let's start with 3 LCRs. I'm gonna place this first one over here. Oh my god, look at this nichrome blasting. It's so cool. Why are these off? Power. That's not good. Oh, but it's so satisfying. The on-demand LCR is plugged in. I also realized I could have 2 energy hatches here, so this runs at EV. This isn't limited to 1 energy hatch. But I've already noticed that this thing starts to clog very easily. I do have a program circuit card in here, but I don't know, something about it, it's just like a little slow or something, or it doesn't work 100% of the time. Sometimes I come back and look and it's just like there's inputs sitting here, but the circuit hasn't been changed to circuit 1, which is what it needed to be for those inputs or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just make a bunch of LCRs and not use the PCC anymore. I don't know. Anyway, this is here. There are 3 fluid inputs, 2 fluid outputs, 1 item input, 1 item output. And yeah, everything is subnetted. Over here, I have a weird, I ran out of channels. So my outputs are on a subnet and they're all stored in this interface. So the mainnet only uses 1 channel, but I'm actually handling 3 devices. It's a bit weird. I've also put down an LCR in the oil area and also an electrolyzer. There are hatches facing each other over here. So the hydrogen is already being looped. The sulfur is going to come out over here. The desulfurized gases, fluids, are going to come out over here, and the sulfuric fluids are input on this side. Everything still needs to be connected to AE2, but I've also put down a controller here. I think I'm going to use a lot of wireless because, I don't know, I feel like just not having the spaghetti is going to be nice, but I will get to that soon. I need to think about where in this process I start voiding overflow. And based on previous experience with trying to make HOG, I think over here is good. So I think excess refinery gas, excess naphtha, heavy fuel, light fuel should all just be voided. And then I'm going to make some oil crackers and put them down over here. Those outputs should probably not be voided. And then the outputs of distilling those products after that, those should be voided, or the overflow should be voided. I don't want every single step to void because that's more wasteful than it needs to be. The voiding is just to prevent clogging. And this is a clogging step. So cool. Let me make some oil crackers, put them down. Also wire everything up, probably. And then we can see the profit rolling in. Oil, profit, capitalism. Little bit of crafting later. Quite a lot of crafting, actually. Everything is done. This is the entirety of oil processing that I wanted to do. There's still a little more to do, but this is the optional stuff, like making HOG, which to me is not really optional. I'm gonna do that. But my main goal was to get all the different hydrocarbons, and that part is done. My create tree farm was finally no longer able to keep up, so I made the tree greenhouse. Horrible sound. I'm probably gonna mute that. Silence. And yeah, I have an idea for a building here. I guess we'll get to that soon. But here's the tree farm. This is the source of everything. This is being provided with carbon dioxide and water, and it actually makes oxygen along with the logs. Logs are stored in the local subnet storage, which actually stores quite a bit of stuff. But the logs are stored here, so I can also use them elsewhere, and they're pulled into my pyrolyze ovens. I upgraded them to nichrome, by the way. This makes oil. Oil gets distilled into sulfuric stuff. Sulfuric stuff gets desulfurized, and the hydrogen sulfide gets recycled. The desulfurized stuff gets cracked in the 4 oil crackers I have. This one uses hydrogen for the lightly hydrocracked light fuel. The other 3 all use steam to make severely steam-cracked heavy fuel, naphtha, and refinery gas. I was surprised to see that there is no moderately cracked version of anything in this pack, but it's only light or severe. The steam, by the way, the steam is produced in my chemicals area. I just put down a fluid heater. It just, it heats the water into steam. That's it. And then that's applied through AE2. All the cracked stuff is all distilled. That's what these 4 distillation towers are for. And all of these products are stored in the subnet storage with overflow voiding and equal distribution. The overflow voiding is purely because I do not want to deal with things clogging. I would rather just void stuff. And the equal distribution is just for space. And finally, these 2 electrolyzers over here are for propane and butane. Butane apparently has no real use. I mean, I can crack it and turn it into other stuff, but I can also burn it, which is an option, but I decided to electrolyze it as a source of hydrogen. Not a very good one. I don't get a lot of butane per second. But this turns butane into butene, and butene has a lot of uses. It's used in making HOG, for example. Similar thing with the propane. The propane is electrolyzed into propene, and the propene is used for epoxy, if I remember correctly. This electrolysis step, by the way, like what? It really doesn't make sense, but okay, sure. As for the building, let's do that right now. Alright, the building is a little bit like that Homer Simpson meme, but it's for good reason. I don't know if I'm done here, to be honest. I still have to do hog, and maybe there's some other stuff that it would make sense to put in here. So I left the back incomplete, but basically what it's going to be is I'm just going to continue this design until the end, and then just kind of close it off with the same structure as what's in front, but without the big oil logo, basically. And probably just going to have this green line come out and then go down. That's probably going to be it. One thing I do really like, though, is the muffler smoke going off to the sides. It kind of looks like an engine or something. I don't know, it's cool. I like it. Anyway, I am going to finish up hog right now, just because why not? But it is a little bit complicated. Hog, or high octane gasoline. First of all, it's an EV recipe, so I need to double hatch the LCR. But it needs a couple of different things. So it needs gasoline, which is probably the easiest part of this. Gasoline comes from toluene and raw gasoline. Toluene is something I have from oil processing, and raw gasoline is something I can make from oil processing. But it needs methanol and acetone. Methanol is not an issue. I can just craft this up. Acetone is a bit more annoying. I am probably going to have to do it with the fluid heater and dissolved calcium acetate. And this I can make with acetic acid and calcite. Calcite I get from ore processing, and acetic acid I can just craft. So that's the gasoline. There's also octane, which I get from distillation. There's nitrous oxide, which I can just craft. There's toluene from distillation. And there's ethyl tert butyl ether. Butyl? This needs ethanol and butene. Butene is fine. Ethanol, though, I don't know if I really make an excess from my power gen. And if I do, I don't know if I should really be using it here. So I guess I'm probably just going to get to distilling biomass. And I don't really care about this stuff, so I could even do it in a single block if I really wanted. Which means another pyro with some bioshaft, which is basically, you know, this is the same sort of process as what's in the power generation building. So I guess I'm just going to copy that and place a bunch of machines here. So I'm going to do that, and I will be back with some hog, which I will not be able to burn because the multi-block is EV. Oh well. And the rest of hog is done. A couple more LCRs over here. A few more things in the passive chem line. Specifically, I'm making ethanol, I'm making biomass. This is making potatoes for the ethanol. I'm making acetic acid, or not, apparently. Apparently I'm not making acetic acid. And I'm making acetone in this distillation tower. I did, at the end of it, decide to go with the distillation tower because I figured it's easier to upgrade. I just have to swap the energy hatch instead of making a whole new machine. The acetone is made with this recipe, with the dissolved calcium acetate. I get quicklime back, which is kind of nice because I can use acetic acid and quicklime to make dissolved calcium acetate. So the quicklime is actually just looped. So there's an output bus and input bus over here and a hatch in the back to help loop this stuff. So as you may have noticed, I'm not making acetone or acetic acid very quickly. And that's because I don't have a hydrogen source, which is surprising. I thought I did, but I don't. Well, I kind of do in these electrolyzers, but it's really, really slow. In fact, I was curious to see how slow and how bad the setup really is because it's super unoptimized. Arguably even incomplete because there's no real hydrogen source. And so I left the server on overnight, and over 8 hours, I got 192 buckets of high-octane gasoline. That's so bad. That's so bad. This works out to about 1,000 EU per tick over the course of 8 hours. That's really bad. That's 2 amps of HV. That powers 2 of these. Well, once I have hydrogen, that will basically solve itself. So that is something pretty high on my list of priorities, is to find a source of hydrogen. And actually, there's a pretty trivial source here, or several trivial sources. Like, there's a lot of excesses here. For example, I have a ton of methane. I don't need this much methane. Well, I mean, I do, but compared to the amount of hydrogen I need, I don't need this much methane. So I could reasonably electrolyze it. 1 bucket of methane gets you 4 buckets of hydrogen. So maybe I'll set up like a level limiter and an electrolyzer so that the methane is electrolyzed when I have over like, I don't know, 1,500 buckets, or maybe even 1,000 buckets. That will be plenty of hydrogen for everything else. Something I might do. I'll just put it on top of this LCR over here. Let me explain this level emitter setup. The front face of this machine has a machine controller in it, which is set to normal. Wait, is it? No, it's set to inverted. A little bit of a weird tooltip bug that I think if I close it and open it, yeah, it says normal, even though it's in inverted mode, which means if a signal is provided to the machine, then it will turn on. I'm a pretty big fan of 3-folds redstone on, machine on, so that's what I'm using here. I have this level emitter set to methane gas, and if I have more than 1,000 buckets, or equal to 1,000 buckets, then this will emit a signal. So this turns the machine on. This is flickering on and off because it's too fast. The output hatch is filling up way too quickly. So it's kind of suffering from success, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter. And now things that rely on hydrogen should be running, which is really nice. Yes, they are, which means I'm now making HOG at full speed. What is that speed? God, I don't know. But hey, I'm up to 256 buckets now. It's only been like 20 minutes since it was 192. But yeah, I'm pretty happy to say that HOG is done, oil is done, and now I can move on to my secret project that I've been working on. It was inevitable. 2 vacuum freezers was never going to keep up with 68 electric blast furnaces. So here's another 32. Yep. I decided not to make 64 because I think that's not really needed. From looking at the recipes for like 10 seconds, it seemed like most cooling recipes are about half as long as blasting recipes, so half as many vac freezers is probably enough. This setup is basically the same as the EBF one, except it's for hot ingots being cooled, obviously. So I have interfaces here stocking hot ingots of all the different types that I've patterned so far. I've got subnet storage for these hot ingots. They can only go here. Well, I would love for them to be only allowed to go here, but actually they can just get sent back into the mainnet, but that should never happen. Once sticky cards are out in the next update, then I can make these sticky and they can only go here. Anyway, the blue lines, just like before, are the outputs and also the fluid input, which in this case is liquid helium, which I haven't made yet. Needs an EV vac freezer, so I could make this now. Helium is a bit expensive for me at the moment because I get it from OilProc and I don't get a lot. But there's a lot of vacuum freezer recipes that need liquid helium, and so I've preemptively set that up. But I don't think any of the ones I have right now need them, so it's not going to get used. And of course I have the alternating red and orange subnet lines for a little bit of priority rotation, just so everything happens at once. This should work pretty well. It's just a little guy compared to the big man. To close out today's oily episode, I am going to try and finish up these quests over here. So I can make styrene butadiene now pretty easily, so I will do that. In this pack, it's a tier higher than silicone rubber. If you played GTNH or if you have watched my GTNH series, you would know. Silicone rubber and SB rubber are the same, or they're equivalent in that mod pack, but in this one, SB rubber is technically 1 tier higher than silicone rubber. So I will be making some of this. I'm also going to make some liquid polyvinyl butyrol. This is locked because I think I need butyraldehyde. Yeah, I can just checkbox this though. Butyraldehyde is made with propene, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen, so this is fine. I have all of these things now. So I will just checkbox this. I also need polyvinyl acetate, which needs acetic acid, which I did earlier. Vinyl acetate, which is a pretty chill recipe. I think I've done this before even. I think I have polyvinyl acetate already. Oh yeah, it's chloride. Well, acetate is not a problem. So I'm going to checkbox all of this. And I will make the polyvinyl butyrol. This needs just the 2 things that I just mentioned. That will unlock laminated glass, which is a new tier of glass. May as well make some. And that glass is used to make the industrial barrel. It's not used in the controller, but it's used in the structure. I don't know where I'm going to be using this barrel, but I'm sure I will, so I'm just going to make it for now and just keep it in storage. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will finally get around to ore processing. This is a very important process, so be sure to pay attention. A final note, the shareholders love HOG. Employees who know the HamCorp HOG Corp lore will be promoted. See you next time.